Welcome. Life's messy, funny, and full of stories worth telling. On Cat Stories, we bring you a bunch of short ones every time, quick, relatable, and maybe just what you needed today. My name's Kathleen and let's jump in. And for our next post, am I the idiot for writing my siblings out of my will? For context, my brother 30M and sister 25F have lived very far from me for a long period of time for me, going on over a decade now. They never bothered to include me as a sibling growing up and have continued the tradition into adulthood. Contact is sparse at best and only when initiated by a mutual third party, never voluntary on their end, and all attempts from me are ignored. I have received a medical diagnosis that isn't looking good and I wanted to ensure that, should the worst come, my affairs would be in order over the next few years. I updated my living will recently. Family doesn't know I have one and struck them from it, barring them from receiving anything, instead leaving assets to my parents with instructions on their provisioning. Friends have told me that I'm being harsh and I should include them, but I hardly know them anymore and any interactions have been largely negative over the past 1,015 years. I could care less what happens after I'm gone, but I don't want what I worked hard for to go to them. And for our next post, am I the idiot H for not allowing my mom to stay another week after her pipes burst just before Christmas? 38F. I am celebrating Christmas with my mom. 68F. My brother 47M and his family. My mom flew in from out of state and we are driving to a meetup location to spend time with my brother's family, a place in the mountains we all enjoy just for the holidays. All of us live hours away, our mom being the furthest on the opposite coast. My brother and I are several hours away by car. This year, we received the bad news that, while my mom has been at my place, her pipes froze and flooded her basement. She is upset, understandably. I helped her get everything started and have her insurance, a cleanup team and a general contractor all working on her place while she is with me. She then broached the topic that she wanted to extend her week stay to 2 weeks or more. I said no. I need to get back to my regular routine and get ready to return to work. She's welcome to stay here as originally planned, which is until Saturday. Then she said she may ask to ride back with my brother and his family to their home in another state opposite direction than me. She refused to ask him until Christmas, so Elle gave my brother a heads up last night so he has a chance to speak with his wife. I also told him that he's under no obligation to say yes, as she is still welcome to stay with me until Saturday and her insurance company will be footing the bill for most of her stay at a hotel and meals if, big if, her residence is uninhabitable, which we do not know at this time. He told me he didn't have room to take her back with him, 3 people in his car and no room for a 4th, assuming luggage is the issue. That I should let her stay with me because she's lonely. I told him I understood that, but I'm not wrong for wanting to cap my time with her at the 1 week originally planned. He had left that text on send. My mom can be a challenging personality and with this unfortunate development, she's even more difficult. I love my mom, but I'm tired. I want my house back and don't want to be criticized or complained at. I refuse to allow my lonely mother to extend her stay with me, despite the recent damages to an unknown state of her home. Am I the idiot H for prioritizing my space and personal downtime over my mother's emotional needs? And for our next post, am I the idiot for walking out on Christmas? I am not a very social person and the holidays can be very taxing for me. My extended family is in town from all over the world and for the past month they've all been here. It's the biggest gathering in recent memory. Every day there is a big group activity or meal with family. Myself and my husband work full-time at a very stressful job and we are also experiencing financial issues. So we were expected to join family functions while continuing to work and we only had a few days off for Christmas. I try to set boundaries but honestly it's difficult because I'm the oldest of my siblings and I feel a lot of obligations and pressure. My husband has been on and off reacting strangely. Sometimes he's in a terrible mood and doesn't want to talk or engage. When he's like this he is impatient with me and doesn't want to hear me vent about family or anything I might be upset about. Other times he seems okay. I know he's missing his own family. They live in another country and we made the choice not to fly to see them this Christmas because of finances. Last night was Christmas Eve and the entire family is meant to unwrap gifts together. It's a tradition. On the way there, I take my younger cousins and husband to get ice cream. I get some for my mother too. When we get to the house, my mother immediately asks where the rest of the ice cream is and blames me for not getting enough for the entire party, although she knew I was going to the ice cream shop and hadn't clearly asked me to. She just expects me to know these things. Everyone starts avoiding me, which is generally what happens when my mother and I get like this. For them it's less drama with me being the scapegoat because it happens so often anyway. I'm wandering around and my husband is in another room entirely talking to my younger cousin and brother. He says to me that what my mother did was messed up, but there's so many people there and I'm feeling socially anxious and tapped out, so I can't properly respond. I say I'm feeling overwhelmed and I want to go somewhere quiet with him. I want to say more, but my husband is in a strange mood again and doesn't wait to let me finish. He decides to leave me instead and play a game with the cousin across the room. I'm feeling totally isolated at this point. By the time my husband comes back, I'm at my breaking point and I just need to leave the house. I tell him that and walk out without him, and I actually go home. Feeling alone in a huge social gathering where everyone is avoiding me and where I've been publicly shamed is the worst feeling to me. Eventually I go back, but it's hours later and everyone acts like nothing happened except for my husband. He says I crossed the line and he's not talking to me. Am I the idiot? And for our next post, am I the idiot for getting engaged after my brother's wedding? Edit, paraphrase some direct quotes and removed some potentially identifiable info. My brother and his now wife got married 3 days ago. A very small destination ceremony, under 15 people total. My now fiancé and I extended our trip after everyone went home and spent a couple of days exploring the Grand Canyon, a couple hours north of the wedding, where he proposed. When I shared the news with my brother and now SIL, he responded with hostility, saying that it looked like we were competing. I apologized, quickly realizing that he was advocating for my SIL and that she felt hurt, although I'm truly failing to understand why. I also texted her a separate apology and explained that it was not our intent to encroach and just wanted to share the news with family, and that it's my belief that there's room for happiness for everyone. She did not respond. In response to my apology, my brother doubled down and said the timing and location were hurtful and that we shouldn't plan around the wedding. And for our next post, am I the idiot for asking to stay one more hour at my mom's on Christmas from my dad? Hey everyone, so for a bit of context, I 18F have level 2 autism and don't really handle being yelled at particularly well, plus I tend to avoid conflict. This also happens every Christmas except for last one where he got COVID. My parents 53F and 51M are also divorced and have been divorced since I was in year 3, and they haven't been on speaking terms since. I've also been living with my mom without swapping weeks since about 2021. It was my decision after a large argument I got into with my dad after my at the time doctor labeled him as being abusive. So on to the story. About a week before Christmas, my dad called me up and insisted on picking me up at 12 p.m., which I've always tended to hate since I never get enough time to talk to my mom's side of the family. I asked him if I could have more time, like an hour or two, which was when he started screaming at me over the phone. During this conversation, he mainly calls me stupid for not understanding street smarts and how my mom is clearly drugged up, and convincing her ex to be her drug dealer. My mom's ex was going to be at the party because my half-sister's children being there. He proceeded to dismiss the time one of my doctors called him abusive before I eventually gave up and gave into the idea of being picked up 12 p.m. Despite being obviously upset about it, I was crying because of him yelling at me. After that we left it there until Christmas Eve, where I asked my mom if she could try convincing him, which although she agreed, it didn't help. So moving to today, I woke up and had a missed call from my dad, so I called him back up, where we said Merry Christmas to each other before I asked about having more time at mom's again. He got angry at this and proceeded to scream at me, but I stood my ground and insisted on 12 p.m. and not going at 12 p.m. This resulted in him deciding to cancel the Christmas plans I had with him because he makes my life miserable. I didn't say this. I said not seeing the rest of my mom for more than 30 minutes sours my mood for the rest of the day before giving me the silent treatment, hanging up on me. This was after I said that the earliest I'm going is 1 p.m. before I don't care about how he thinks it's unfair that mom gets more hours over the year because I'm not even covered my child support anymore, and he's technically getting more of the day regardless on Christmas. Honestly, I'm just a bit confused over this whole situation. I still want to see him, as I had presents I handmade for him which probably won't even be give. I don't even really care about my presents. I just want to spend more time with some of my family that I only usually see only on Christmas. I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong anymore or what to think about this. If I am in the wrong, I will apologize, but I'm pretty sure that he's not bluffing about canceling Christmas, knowing him. So Reddit, am I the idiot? Also, apologies for bad formatting, I'm on mobile. And for our next post, am I the idiot for not visiting my family as often as they'd like? Context: I 28F had my son 17 months recently, my dad 5,960 and sister 30 don't come by all that often, and I don't either. I have never missed a get-together, event or birthday. We found out a few months ago that, during the end of my pregnancy and recovery from my C-section, I had a fractured pelvis. This had made it hard to sit in a car, let alone drive. I'm better now, but my car died about a week ago. Recently they visited my grandmother and didn't tell me, instead choosing to say they didn't think I could make it because of my son's nap schedule. I told them that was my concern and not theirs. This caused a big argument where my dad brought up how they had been patient when I had to leave early to care for my cats. I had a diabetic cat who sadly passed away this year while you were pregnant. I don't know what he meant, and when you had a newborn and for nap schedules. Now my son was hard as a newborn. He had infant dysphagia, in which he would suddenly scream at the top of his lungs to poop. He also started teething at 2 months, and at the same time we had a soy sauce bottle explode in our kitchen at 2 a.m. This caused him to no longer sleep well, even to this day. I haven't visited much due to having been in pain, having a difficult child in car rides, not being able to drive without pain, and my dad's dog having snapped at my son. Neither my sister nor my dad want to take responsibility for the dog and ignore it when it's mentioned. I will mention they are both allergic to cats as well, which I understand and respect them coming anyways. TLDR, my family is upset I don't visit them often outside of get-togethers, events and birthdays. Yet I've tried to explain to them why. Am I the idiot? Alright, that's it for this one. If these stories made you smile or think, hit like and subscribe for more. Oh, and don't forget to share your own stories in the comments. I love hearing them. See you next time. It's Kathleen. See you all later.